Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
So as we close out 2024, there has been something on my mind that I do want to throw out there and pitch to us wrestling fans. I've been wanting to do this video for probably about a month or two. I've had these graphics ready for a few weeks. So tonight, I'm going to do it. Because I don't know if I will get to do the end of the year stream I want to do. So if this is the final video for 2024, then I think I want to end it with this note here. What's going on, guys? This is a Club of the Man 1993. A little topic video I just wanted to throw out there. Get your opinions on it. Because this day and age, wrestling fans, not gonna lie, it can be a toxic environment. There is a lot of, positives and negatives. There's a lot of people that have higher expectations than other wrestling fans. There's people who look for more storytelling. People look for more so wrestling. I have a couple friends who are like that with wrestling. One prefers more storytelling, the other one prefers more wrestling. Which is why some people may prefer one company over the other, or like me, who does like both companies, but knows right now, the company I'm enjoying more right now, unfortunately, WWE, but there's still some light with AEW. But of course, 2024, despite being one of the best pay-per-view years, storyline-wise, it's definitely been one of the weakest years for AEW. And it's kind of been like that for a bit, as the company has been in kind of a little bit of a downward spiral. I keep hoping they will turn things around, and they could, but I could definitely see 2025 for both companies being a fresh start. Some fresh storylines, hopefully. Maybe. Some have not been resolved. More so with one we're going to talk about over here. But it looks like some hopefully will be resolved over here. If not by next week. But the topic I want to talk about. Does anyone besides me... Well, let me actually... Before I get to the main gist of this. Let me just say things about both men. Triple H and Tony Khan. Although I have recently mentioned that Tony Khan, business-wise, has shown some Vince McMahon tendencies. I still cannot fully say he's Tony Khan. I mean, I can't fully say he's Vince McMahon. Because the biggest thing about Triple H and Tony Khan that I like, that made me despise Vince McMahon, is that I felt Vince McMahon knew we didn't like what was going on. But he instead decided to take that and just troll with us. Someone like, of course, Tony Khan, who knows there's problems, doesn't want to admit there's problems. But he's not blaming the fans. That's one thing I can not put on Tony Khan, is that he does not want to put blame on the fans. Yes, he calls us the sickos or whatnot. I can't say he's ever tried to insult the fans' intelligence. Triple H as well. He's had some swings and misses. He's had some home runs. But again, he's not trying to insult the fans. Both of these men, well, okay, Tony Khan, not as much, because storytelling has gone out the window. Watching Dynamite still feels like you're watching him playing AEW Fight Forever and putting on dream matches. Because there's not too many bad wrestling matches that AEW does. It's not that often that they happen. Not often you see a Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match like we got in 2023, or spoiler for 2024, Chris Jericho and FTR. Chris Jericho versus Hook at All In. Yeah, spoiler alert, that's my worst match of 2024. We still get a lot of great wrestling matches. Storytelling, though, is just bad right now for AEW. WWE, though, is more heavily, with it being more sports entertainment and a PG company, they are more centered on storytelling. And the one thing that I really like about Triple H's booking is that I feel like he takes the simplest little things in life and turns it into a story and makes it appealing. And for the most part, easy to follow along. There is a purpose to everything that's happened. It's not like in 2023 when Vince briefly came back, we had Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. Still don't know why Brock was attacking Cody. Maybe we could have gotten that answer if Brock would have came back, but he's not coming back anytime soon. Or kind of like how in 2021, whatever it was, we had Sonya Deville just like when she was GM, just doing everything she can to keep Naomi out of the spotlight. But what did Sonya have against Naomi? A feud that went on from August till February, and we never got an answer. For Triple H, his storylines can drag out, but at least most of the time, whenever they do complete, we do get a payoff. We get a start, we get a finish. Do they drag on too long sometimes? Yes. But we at least get a resolution at the end. But the one thing I want to talk about, the main gist of this video, and finally get into it 7 minutes later. Is it just me? Or does it feel like both companies have the same storyline that gets repetitive? Like the same structure, like the same like theme of the storyline. Like we'll start with AEW. There's kind of two. One of them not so much because they veered away from it. Before, of course, they kind of went, downhill. I thought one storyline that they constantly repeated a lot was MJF, and whenever he would throw in his stipulations. As far as you got to complete these tasks to get a match with me. Because they've kind of done that a little bit with the Adam Cole storyline. But then again, the MJF and Adam Cole storyline, let's briefly address that. That was something AEW tried to salvage, but I don't think it worked. Because technically, MJF was still the babyface in the storyline, yet they turned MJF heel, and they had to bring Adam Cole back as a babyface. But yet, Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom are still the ones who turned on MJF. So, again, the only way you were able to tell the story was for Adam Cole to basically say MJF's a big old meanie. And I thought it was very cringe. Apparently, because I didn't watch World's End this past weekend. Apparently, they were booing the Undisputed Kingdom when Adam Cole won. I still gotta read more into the highlights and whatnot and watch a few reviews of the show for people to say, but yeah, apparently that's the case. But the whole thing with the stipulations, like it happened with Cody Rhodes, it happened with Chris Jericho, Wardlow, who else did he feud with? Probably a few others that I can't think off the top of my head right now, but it was the same story, which is why I was glad that whenever they turned him face to kind of give him a different direction. Like, yes, eventually he was going to, show his villainous side, but he did when we didn't expect it. I would say right now, when AEW, of course, is trying to tell stories, and not just random exhibition matches, the one storyline, especially in 2024, that they seem to be obsessed with, that they constantly do, is the whole take over the company storyline. We had it with the New Elite earlier this year. We've seen it before with the Dark Order. couple other stables as well. And now we have it with the Death Riders. It feels like that's the only story that they're actually trying to tell, is someone's trying to take over the company. And unfortunately, especially in 2024, it hasn't worked. The new Elite storyline, I'm sorry, that is something that could have worked. The problem is, though, is they focus so much heat on CM Punk because all of them had beef with CM Punk, and they're all the reasons why CM Punk got fired. A guy who's not here to give them their comeuppance, you can't tell that story. And now we got people like Private Party and Daniel Garcia, which, don't get me wrong, I love those guys. They deserve to win the championships they got, but they weren't the long-term story. So the whole thing kind of blew up in their faces. Like, Jack Perry was probably only champion because he needed to be a central figure going into All In and All Out because CM Punk got fired after All In. CM Punk is from Chicago. So it's kind of like how Baron Corbin was. A cheap heel magnet. And again, still, I would still say this. The worst decision that AEW still made this year was two things. One, showing that CM Punk footage. And two, having Tony Khan get beat up by the new Elite. That, to me, that segment just smelled desperation from Tony Khan. That was one of the most desperate moments I ever saw Tony Khan in. It was almost, to me, it felt like I was watching the whole Vince McMahon and the Wild Card Rule segment from 2019. That's how desperate it looked. And now we have the Death Riders, which, first off, they were trying to take over the company the same time as the new Elite was. The Death Riders haven't had a payoff. And the problem, well, first off, besides the fact that it's dragging out, which Shane McMahon still didn't show up at World's End. Which, if it's not going to be Shane, what's the payoff for this? Because it literally feels like it's just a bunch of guys saying we're taking over the company, but we don't know why. Why are they doing this? And then, to top it all off, because someone's mentioned this too, it doesn't help that they're not feuding with, like, bigger names. Like, okay, Adam Copeland came back, and he's going to feud now for the world title. That may help because it's a bigger name. But no offense to Orange Cassidy. No offense to Jay White. And no offense to Hangman Adam Page. But first off, I mean, okay, Hangman, you can't fully, say he suffers in this category. Because he had a big character moment with his third match with Swerve. Yes, he's lost a lot since and lost some momentum, but I feel like Hangman is he's like another heel in this feud that, is a threat to whatever Moxley's up to. But you still have to have those baby faces in there to put that cushion in between. And no offense, Jay White and Orange Cassidy are not those people. I love Orange Cassidy, don't get me wrong. But again, he has had zero character development since he got super popular in 2020. His character has not changed. It hasn't. He cut that first serious promo after that Chuck Taylor segment where Chuck Taylor got ridden off with that chair shot. And he was getting somewhere with that seriousness, but then he went on to being goofy Orange Cassidy again. I'm like, no, I love that character, yes, but we need something new from him. And Jay White, I'm sorry, I don't think Jay White's meant to be a babyface. He's not. So it doesn't help for the Death Riders that they're feuding with people that don't feel like a threat to them at all. It's like they're feuding with mid-carders for a main title. And like I said, you need someone maybe an Adam Copeland or a Kenny Omega. Well, we've already seen Moxley and Kenny, so okay, we can do that. A Will Ospreay, a Swerve, something like that. Heck, also we have the Hurt Syndicate coming in. They're another one that's kind of we're taking over. But I think the long-term angle for this is for Darby Allin to eventually be the one to dethrone Jon Moxley, which that would be great. The problem is there's no other who are they working for? There's nothing else to them that makes them interesting besides they're just a bunch of guys who say they want to take over the company for no reason whatsoever. Like, I really thought this was to bring in Shane McMahon. But again, if they were bringing in Shane, you think they would have done it by now? Like, I cannot believe it didn't happen at World's End. It should have happened by World's End. Now that it did happen, I'm starting to think that Shane's not coming in. But yeah, that's like Tony's favorite story when he wants to actually write a story, is the whole take over the company storyline. And it's gotten kind of old. And again, especially when there's really no payoff to any of this. And again, you can't rely on someone else who's not in the company. So that's AEW's little flaw right here. Well, they have a lot of flaws, but that's their storyline they seem to be obsessing over. Let's jump over to Triple H. So again, I think a lot of people expected much, much more from Triple H when he took over as creative. Keep in mind, as I keep saying, he is still trying to make things work with a bunch of stars who were damaged under Vince McMahon. And I think some of them were on their way in the right path until Vince briefly stepped back in. And unfortunately, that little dose kind of threw them back off again. And some of them are kind of damaged goods. Now, especially with, like, you know, these occasional releases, I feel like Triple H has more figured out who he can work with and who he has to put aside for now. But with that being said, here's one storyline I feel like Triple H uses too often. And that's the whole thing with mending relationships, fixing friendships. The whole idea of, we're mortal enemies, but can we trust each other? Because we've seen that with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. We've kind of seen that with Bianca Belair and Bayley. We have seen that with the OG Bloodline. We've seen that with, I feel like there's some other ones who were kind of like in that category, but I feel like that storyline is being told way too often. And it's gotten a little bit old. Like, eventually he's probably going to have a storyline where Rey and Dominic reunite. Cool, but again, can we not get so many of them happening at once? I just feel like that's like the main story he tries to tell in most of his stories. It's involving people that didn't get along at first, that have a history, but they're fixing things and making up again. Now, of course, you have like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, where Kevin Owens has gone back to the dark side, but it's not the same reason he did before. It's him. He has a reason. And that's one thing I also love about Triple H, is that these heels that he's developed, the Drew McIntyres, the Kevin Owens, maybe Seth Rollins, and I'm sure a few others I'm not thinking off the top of my head, they have justified reasons to go down this dark path. That's why if they would do a Kevin Owens and a Sami Zayn match at WrestleMania, it would be fresh because it's a different character. I still to this day really want an I Quit match. I've been wanting an I Quit match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens since 2016. I thought if they were going to do a blow-off for their feud in 2016, it should have been at SummerSlam, should have been an I Quit match. But, I don't know, like that storyline has gotten old. Like, who else, like, again, are they going to do, like, again, Dom and Rey is one I know that they'll probably do a whole makeup storyline eventually. Will they have Johnny and, well, I just saw, that's nothing too, I saw through, at a house show, apparently Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory became buddies again, because they're heels now in a heel tag, and they were involved in a tag team or something like that. Again, like I said, like, you know, it's like, yes, the simplest little stories are good television. They're effective. They make sense. They have a start and an end. But can we get something a little different? Take a break from the whole building relationship storylines and whatnot? Because again, it's gotten a little old. So, like, people who are, like, losing interest because of storylines like Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan kind of dragging out too long. Yes, I agree. That's been a storyline it was good when it started, but it's gotten way too long. It's like, we gotta wrap it up and do something else. Judgment Day storyline, where it's like, I don't get why there's still a thing. Judgment Day had been one of the most inconsistent booked stables I have seen. Heck, even like Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, like, how many more times is Tiffany going to screw something up before Nia blows up on her? I feel like it should have happened. It's so obvious now that Tiffany Stratton wants to cash in on Nia. And Nia is still cool with her. And I don't get that. But I feel like with the Raw on Netflix, at least, maybe, wrapping up some things. I feel like hopefully World's End also wrapped up some things for AEW. 2025 could be a fresh start for some storylines. And I think both companies, well, AEW's got to learn how to tell stories again. But both companies could use, like, a fresh story. Something different. Something else besides, let's take over a company or mend a relationship. Like, something different. That's what I'm saying. There's stories that you can use again. And again, that's the thing. There's only so many stories we can tell. But when you're doing the same story constantly, it gets a wee bit old. But I do have the faith. I know if Tony Khan will actually admit that, things need to change, which he already kind of is, because he already did, start booking smaller arenas, made the crowds much more loud and fun for Dynamite. Triple H has done an excellent job this year booking the shows. He's had some classics. He's had some swings and misses. But again, like I said, these are two guys who are not going to try to insult their audience. Heck, again, I'm still convinced to this day that Triple H wanted to test the audience at the beginning of the year to see where their heart stood. What did they want more? Rock and Roman or Cody and Roman? And when it was fan backlash, he gave them what he wanted. And I know both men can do both, have the willpower to do that. So I do look forward to what 2025 does bring to wrestling. I do hope that AEW starts heading in a better direction telling stories. And I hope WWE continues the momentum they had in 2024 and 2025. But again, maybe change things up. Maybe back away from the whole mending relationships storylines and whatnot. And do some different things. We'll see what they bring us. But that's my thoughts on this, guys. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Are both companies, or even other companies like TNA or New Japan or Maple Leaf Wrestling or whatever other companies are out there, are certain companies focusing too much on certain storylines? Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below about this. Slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. I do have some other ideas for a couple other videos I want to make, but this is the last video that is posted for 2024. Thank you all again for a great year. Hope you have a safe and happy new year. And again, if this is it, I'll see you guys all in 2025. So until then, guys, I'm checking out. See you all next year. Do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!